Hi folks, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm going to do a little bit of an update, as you've probably guessed by the title of the video, about my fridge. So yeah, about 2 months ago I replaced it. So let's just hop back in time a little bit and start off with the original fridge and freezer separate units I had and the thinking behind them and everything else, and then talk about the sort of like, the reality of that and why I changed. When I started my van build, my plan was to have a separate fridge and freezer, and I chose like their chest open top 12-volt compressor style ones, and had them on slidey drawers in my nice little cabinet that I've built here. So it's underneath my worktop, so that I could open them and open the lid so cold air falls, and therefore if you have top load in, it means that, well, theoretically it's going to keep the temperature more. So unlike the new fridge I've got now, where you open a door like the fridge you have in your house as well, and then all that cold air just falls away out the door, the drop-in ones are supposedly far more efficient. And the fact the ones I've got could operate down to -20 meant I could operate one as a fridge and one as a freezer, and therefore allow me to spend more time off grid, so that I didn't have to worry about going to the shops and all that kind of stuff. I could literally just stock up my fridge with stuff and stock up with my freezer, and then, you know, set for weeks on end or whatever. That was the plan anyway. So I bought them. I think they're made by the same brands, or they're all unbranded. So yeah, they were 45-litre 12-volt compressor fridges, and you see them in all sorts of places. They come with a mains charger as well, which is essentially just mains to 12 volts converter. And yeah, 45 litres seemed like enough space to put all my stuff in there. Probably a couple of little downsides was that as you drop everything in, as you load it up, you then lose sight of things below. So you end up rummaging around, which means that there's no real organization to it. Things are just dropped in place, and then you rummage around to find what you want. That's probably like the narkiest little thing. A little tiny bigger problem than that was that it's not true 45-litre storage, because there's a big drop storage and then there's a smaller little sort of shelf storage at the back, which kind of sits over, you know, the workings, the compressor, the motor and all that kind of stuff, which does take away from that 45-litre capacity probably around about 10 litres. So you end up with only 35 litres of capacity. It does say that, you know, it's still a fridge or it's still a freezer, it should cool it, but that upper shelf is pretty much useless. So as a freezer at -18, that upper shelf was usually about -2, -1 or 0. That's the difference it made. So the upper shelf really was more like a fridge than it was a freezer, and anything you put in there would not freeze, or if it was frozen, it would defrost. And similarly, the problem in the fridge with the upper deck was that anything you placed there wouldn't really be cold. It would be less than ambient temperature, but usually about sort of 10 to 12 degrees, which isn't considered to be, you know, fridge temperature chilling or whatever. So yeah, it wasn't ideal, but you know, I persevered. And what really kind of like started to annoy me about it was the noise of it, especially at night time. There was a jolt to them kicking in and kicking out the motor, despite me stripping it down and doing all sorts of things to the motor mounts, to doing, you know, all sorts of changes I made to the cabinet to make it insulated, to, you know, sound deaden it. Everything inside was modified in such a way that there was no movement or anything, but it still made that kick as the motor kicked in and kicked out, which quite a lot of the time woke me up at night, or was probably the reason why I would wake up and go, did I hear something then? So yeah, quite annoying really. The next thing was the motors were quite noisy as well, and if they both kicked in at the same time, it sounded like somebody had parked next to you in the van and had their engine running. because it would oscillate, the frequency would oscillate, and between the two frequencies of the motors going, yeah, it sounded awful actually. So what's happening is at night time, regular as clockwork, these things turn on, turn off. It's weird as well, because if I have my CCTV on, that detects the noise about every 7.5 minutes of these switching on and off. And obviously they're quite noisy, so that's my other plan. Now this reduced some of the noise, maybe 30% of the noise, but then I realised I was then capturing all the heat inside the cupboard. So I then had to work out how to get the heat from the motors out of the cupboard. Fridges and freezer, cooling. So those are the holes that went through the side, and these are the vents. And then what I've done, you can just about see the tie wrap loops in there, is got these fans that fit on the back, tie them in place, and they simply just fit back in place. So you'd never know they were any different than the other ones. So I've got 2 fans, and they're both on sucky mode. So they're going to pull out the hot air. Yes, hot air rises. It may well be still a little bit hot at the top, but I'm hoping that the movement of air through there will actually dissipate the hot air at the top, but we'll see. So then the next problem was that they were on pretty much all the time, which one meant that they used a lot of power, which wasn't a problem in summer, but as I got towards, you know, autumn and everything, the sun dropped out and all this crappy weather, it became more apparent how much power it or they were using, you know, sort of throughout the day and overnight when there was no incoming solar. It was even more apparent. I tried doing all sorts of things, make sure they were fully stocked all the time, just to make sure, you know, sort of, I don't know if you're aware of this, but a fridge and freezer operate better if there are dense things inside. So when the dense objects, if you like, are cooled, they stay cooler for longer, and therefore keep everything else a cooler temperature, and therefore the chamber is a cooler temperature for longer. So hopefully it then should operate more efficiently. That's the theory behind a fridge and freezer anyway. So an empty fridge or an empty freezer, or a half full fridge or freezer, is not as efficient as a full one, because you need those solid objects to, yeah, basically absorb the cold and to keep that cold within the chamber, as in the fridge or the freezer. Anyway, so we digress. There was obviously something not right about this. They were essentially just, you know, dropping temperature all the time, but neither keeping them covered, so you think insulating it would keep everything cooler, nor extracting the hot air to make sure that, you know, everything was still cool inside, worked. So as you can see here, they just had loads of condensation on the outside of the case. It was dripping wet through at the bottom of the fridge and the freezer pretty much all of the time, which actually led to a worse problem, which was that the wooden drawers that I created to sit them on started to get mold, and quite bad mold on them as well. So that means I had to seal up everything so that nothing absorbed that moisture, and then take them out frequently and clear the moisture off. So not good at all. Yeah, it got to a point where I just had enough. I'd had enough of sleepless nights. I'd had enough of, yeah, just, you know, the noise all the time. It was very noticeable even during the day, but more so at night. So yeah, loads of different things, loads of things going on. None of it positive, really. And then the straw that broke the camel's back was the realization that my freezer was full of things that had been in there for some time. Obviously daily life happens, and the majority of the time I am just living out the fridge. So yeah, I need to do that, like a quick thing, you know, whatever's going on. Most of the time you just want a quick meal, just, you know, put the air fryer on, put, you know, the pan on or whatever, cook something real quick, and then, you know, get off and do what you're doing. So having something that's frozen means that you've got to pre-planning to defrost it, or that you take more time and therefore more power out of my batteries to defrost it using, you know, appliances. So I figured, you know what, the freezer isn't working out. So I thought I'd do a little bit of an experiment. And when I decided, you know, no more stuff out the freezer, there was a few of us around, so I knew I could get rid of everything out the freezer, or put it in fridges and use it over the next coming days or whatever. So I just unplugged the power and then monitored with an internal temperature to see how long it kept its temperature, because, you know, a normal freezer should keep its temperature if the lid isn't opened or the door isn't opened for quite some hours. They say about 12 hours, but an hour basically. So the internal temperature of my van at the time was around about 18 degrees, and for 1 hour of it not being plugged in, it had basically lost its freezing temperature, and had got to about 7 degrees positive, 7 degrees Celsius positive. So yeah, obviously they were rubbish. The reason why they were operating all the time was because obviously the rubbish insulation, if at all any insulation. So I decided at that point, you know, there's no point, I'm just wasting power keeping the fridge going as well. So yeah, the fact that I've built my van around, you know, sort of cupboard space and kitchen space and everything, I then hunted for the biggest 12-volt compressor fridge with a freezer compartment that I could fit in this space, and that's when I came across this one. It was an eBay special. So no brand, but I'm led to believe that it's a sub-brand of Dometic. Certainly most of the components inside show labels to suggest that. It's very well made, and like I say, I've had it for a few months now, and it has been flawless. It holds the temperature, and it operates just like a domestic fridge freezer. So it comes on, is on for maybe about 5 minutes, and then it's maybe off for like 25-30 minutes. It's almost silent, you know, so that's helpful. And yeah, it's a 90 litre, so essentially I've got the capacity of both the other fridge and freezer back in this one, with a small sort of freezer compartment in there. And the beauty is that I didn't really have to modify this that much. It was quite funny. I just basically cut off one side of the battening, front and back, because the fridge was slightly wider. Probably was about 3 or 4 mil wider than the internal dimensions of that. And obviously I sold all my tools, so I only had a multi-tool. So I used the multi-tool to split the cupboard in half. So it opened up, put the new fridge in, and then basically closed it back again, tightened it all down, put the top in, tightened that, and it's been fine. I am going to change this, so I'm just waiting on AD at the moment from All Things Timber to make me a new one, because there's now wasted space at the back here, because the new fridge doesn't go all the way back. So at the back, I'm going to have some drawers, 3 drawers. So essentially it's going to be the same cupboard. It'll look the same, same wrap, same top surface and everything else. I've bought all the same stuff again. The fridge is going to go in the same place, but at the back there, I'll have some extra storage. So yeah, winning. A reason why I've kind of been holding off telling you about this is because I wanted to make sure that the new fridge was all right, and I was hoping by now that AD would have enough time to make my new cupboard, but apparently it's swamped out with helping you guys and other customers as well. So hopefully soon I'll get that sorted out, and I'll update you then as well, just to show you what's been done and how it looks. But yeah, I shall link the fridge in the video description down below. It was an eBay special, just over 500 quid. Which was another deciding sort of factor in that. One was that it was square, so it wasn't losing loads of the internal space at the back by sort of profiling it, so it fits in, you know, like a van build or whatever at the top. So it's pretty much square with a little notch out at the top behind the freezer compartment, which is where the motor and the compressor and everything is. But other than that, it's a square box, so you maximize that space, and also it takes up slightly less space than you know, one of the Dometic ones, which they kind of make them a little bit slimmer at the back, and then they're tapering at the top because they're expecting the side of your panel van taper to be going in there, whereas this one is definitely designed for under counter, so it's just a box shape. Yeah, far better, cost wise better, and obviously to fit more stuff in there and it to be a neater package as well. And yeah, I haven't missed the freezer. I generally pick up loads of stuff when I'm shopping. So in there, freezer right now is probably some sausages, some burgers, something like that. And then ice pops, which is how I tell whether things are frozen or not, whether the ice pops are still frozen, or if they get, you know, like a bit soft, then I know that the freezer compartment is having a problem or whatever. So yeah, happy with that one. And probably at some time in the future on the front there, I will take off that front panel, because the front panel does come out, disassemble, whatever. And I'll probably match it to the green that everything else is matched to, just so it sort of blends in a little bit more. But I'll probably do that when we've changed the cupboard and everything that I'm waiting for AD for. So there we go, folks. All these things that you didn't know about that have been going on in the background, and probably they're quite important as well. But yeah, I've just been really busy. That's why I've not made any travel videos. I've not been traveling. I've not been getting in my van to travel to a scenic destination, to film it with the drone and get the cameras out and show you where I'm parked up and have a campfire and everything like that. Life has just got in the way. So yeah, that's why different videos have been happening, and also you know, the ability to have sponsored videos with product reviews means that there's money going in the travel funds for future travels as well. So every time there's a product sponsored video or a product review video, obviously yeah, I get a little bit of money back from that. And that helps with future travels. So yeah, that's basically how it's been working lately. Nothing special going on whatsoever. Work and family, and you know, just anything but traveling to epic destinations and filming them. Hopefully over the next month, that should start to change. Hopefully sort of by the end of November, we should be on our travels again. Yay, I can't wait. Actually, I've enjoyed not sort of worrying about that. I mean, it takes an awful lot of work to plan in where you're going to be every day, where you're going to visit, where you're going to park up, the activities you're going to do every day, you know, during all those trips, where you're going to get fuel, food, all the other things, you know, water and all that. So I've enjoyed it being less stressful, if you like. So yeah, I've just enjoyed, you know, chilling out a little bit more. Not that I've made less videos, it's just the video has been about something else now and again. And speaking of something else, I've got a couple more videos in the off-grid series coming, and another little one-off video as well. So yeah, those are going to come out over the next probably 3 weeks. So yeah, lots of videos, ideas and all that in the pipeline, just kind of working through it and getting through everyday work life and all that kind of stuff as well. Right then, folks, thanks for watching and listening to this waffly update. Have a lovely day. See you later. Bye.